There are girls that love to tell us that they use all of their pickle earnings for paying for their rent. Or
1 in 4 women ages 18 to 35 in New York City has downloaded Pickle. Julia, how old are you?
I'm 28.
28. The bio you just read is insane.
It is full of a lot of things, and I think the theme is a lot of pivots along the way. We told some of these girls after DMing probably 150 and getting like 6 responses. I had like a bunch of green balloons so that they knew where we were, like literally a bunch of green balloons in my hand. Brian lived alone, and so his apartment became the storage unit and the influencer closet. So poor Brian was living amongst hundreds of women's clothes. Technically ran out of money, I think 3 times. So we went from like $0 to $8 million in the summer, fall of 2023. We are 85 to 90% organic growth. This person in particular told me, I made an extra 10K last month.
There's money hanging in my closet. This one is for you.
It literally is. It's in your closet, I promise.
Yeah. Her boyfriend through her pickle rental. That is not a sign for everybody listening to download
it's time.
Pickle right now. Welcome to Stacked, the show that helps you become your own best asset. Because in case you missed it, you're allowed to have a high vibe and a high net worth. Julia O'Mara, are you ready to get stacked?
Yes.
All right, welcome to the show. You came down from New York to visit us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome to Miami.
Excited to be here. I love Miami.
We are so happy to have you on the show. We've known each other for a little while now.
I know. So lovely with our communities overlapping and everything.
So much overlap. So welcome to Stacked. This is the show that helps you become your own best asset. We're talking about the Circular Closet with Julia O'Mara, co-founder and COO of Pickle, a peer-to-peer fashion rental marketplace that's like Airbnb, but for our closets. You get to rent items from other people's wardrobes, make passive income renting out pieces you already own. We'll get into how Julia found the first customers, how to price a rental so both sides win, and the operational habits that build trust at scale. If you've ever thought, there's money hanging in my closet, this one is for you.
It literally is. It's in your closet, I promise.
All right, so Julia, quick bio. Julia O'Mara is co-founder, COO of Pickle, peer-to-peer rental marketplace, making it easy and affordable to rent high-quality clothing and accessories with one another. With expertise in business and product engineering, Julia identified a gap in modern commerce and built a first-of-its-kind platform that democratizes fashion access and promotes circularity. In less than a year, Pickle cultivated a thriving community circulating hundreds of thousands of items from 2,000 plus coveted brands, fueling lucrative side hustles and introducing a new way to shop. Under Julia's leadership, Pickle has skyrocketed in growth and now rents more in a week than it did in its entire first year. It's more than tripled its supply year over year and continues to expand its community and on-demand rental marketplace. Her innovation and impact have earned recognition from Forbes 30 Under 30 to Inc. Female Founders List. Before founding Pickle in 2022, Julia was a senior product manager at the Blackstone Group, the world's largest alternative asset manager, where she led product analysis for investor relations and fundraising. She also has a bachelor's degree in material science engineering with a minor in entrepreneurship from the University of Pennsylvania, where she was also a varsity lacrosse player.
That is correct.
And that was like a mouthful. Julia, how old are you?
I'm 28.
28. The bio you just read is insane.
It is full of a lot of things, and I think the theme is a lot of pivots along the way.
And that's like any true good entrepreneur's story is a lot of pivots, a lot of successes, a lot of failures.
Absolutely.
Let's go back to the beginning. So tell us a little bit about who you are. Where did you grow up? What was your family life like?
I grew up north of Baltimore in Bel Air, Maryland. I lived with my family, both of my parents. I have a younger brother and I have a twin sister. Having a twin sister was a big part of my identity growing up. We did just about everything together. All sports, all classes. She went to Penn as well. We played lacrosse together. And then we ended up diverging once we decided on our professional careers. She wanted to follow my dad's footsteps. She is currently in her residency for orthopedic surgery.
Wow.
I decided that I did not want to be a doctor in any form and heavy pivoted over. And so in school, that was our first time that we kind of separated. She was studying cognitive neuroscience, and then I was studying material science engineering, which I obviously had a very big pivot from. I am not using that major currently, but I always say that it was the foundational problem solving skills as an engineer.
Yeah.
And That was helpful, but we don't remember our crystal lattice structures anymore.
Yeah. So you're a math and science girl.
Yes.
At heart.
Yes,
You grew
definitely.
up in a math and science family. Also, you're a twin. My brothers are twins.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's the best.
It's such a unique relationship.
Yeah.
Are you guys fraternal?
Identical.
You're identical.
built-in best friend situation.
Wow.
It's great. Yes. I wish she lived in New York City. She lives in Philly now, but
Okay.
we see each other a lot.
Okay. That's amazing. Twins it's really a different dynamic growing up. And that's so cool. You guys were close enough to go to school together and the same sports.
Very grateful for it, for sure.
So, okay. So how do you get into engineering?
I think I went into it mostly because I was good at math and science.
Yeah.
That was the decision. And when I was choosing my major of material science engineering, I ended up deciding to pick that because I went to Penn undecided in the engineering school. And I just liked the professors, which is not the way that you would typically pick your college degree, but I don't know. I didn't have the advisement necessarily that was, hey, why don't you really take a step back and think about your potential career? Because I had no idea what I wanted to do.
For sure.
So I was just drawn into this major that it was small, it was intimate, and the professors were really great. And I loved math and science, and that was about it.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you were following your intuition from like a young, very natural age. You found something you were good at. You found people that were supportive of you, and you just kind of rode the wave. Not that it wasn't a ton of work, but it's finding that like inner compass and just sometimes you want to take the path of least resistance and just trust the process.
The path still seemed to work, right? And then I also studied the engineering entrepreneurship minor. That was definitely more of my foreshadowing of today. When I look back and think about relevant classes, those were the classes.
Yeah.
I took one of those where we worked on an entire business model over the semester and had to present weekly in front of the class on what we were working on, and ended up presenting at the end of the semester to potential investors. And so that I'm like, okay, that was a bit tangible. Obviously we didn't actually build out a product or anything, but it was some good practice. And there were a few classes like intellectual property law, things like that a few of those facts were helpful when starting the company.
So that was like the first kind of entrepreneurial little seed that was planted.
Yes.
And you get to New York.
Went to New York, did not go entrepreneurial, went to Blackstone instead.
So you go to a big corporation, very structured.
Yeah.
And at what point, because you're still like, you're so young. So like at what point from graduating college, going into your first job out of college, do you start getting this entrepreneurial bug? I mean, you're in investor relations in some capacity. So I imagine you're looking at a lot of other people's companies, seeing them raise money. Probably that started.
There was a little bit of that. And I think that it was mostly that I was definitely surrounded by a lot of driven people. Yeah. And I think that's what I enjoyed most at Blackstone. And then COVID happened while I was there. Okay. And I had been in the city for around 9 months. COVID hit, we were all sent home. Very strange. Obviously, Blackstone was heavy, 5 days in the office. No one even knew what work from home was. They had just adopted Zoom right before the pandemic, that kind of situation. And then going home, it became more clear that I was more passionate about probably like the camaraderie of working really hard with my fellow coworkers in the office than I was on the content that I was working on for work itself. And fortunately, I had met Brian McMahon, who is my co-founder of Pickle at Blackstone. And we worked together on a ton of different projects and had a really great relationship at Blackstone. And he had called me one day and he's like, hey, I'm thinking about starting something. I want to talk to you about this. And that's when we started talking about the first version of Pickle, which was a completely different app than what we are today.
And I really want to get into that because I feel like that is not a story that is out there so much.
Yeah, it's not talked about as much because, I don't think it's as interesting necessarily as our current platform, but it's all part of the journey and how we got here.
And exactly, and going back to our point earlier about pivots, I think in entrepreneurship, pivots are the place where you learn your hardest lesson.
It's so
the most
common.
important lesson. So I would love to unpack, like, what was this first company? What was the idea behind it? And then ultimately what led you to that pivot?
First company, we were building a social polling app. So we were helping people decide what to wear, what to buy, and allowing you to crowdsource opinions. Ideally, that would then de-risk your decision that you were making. So if you're in the market to buy something new, whether it's a pair of shoes,
this top, I'm not sure about it.
We're going to post a poll. It's like Instagram polls on an app. And there are a lot of challenges with that when you're building a social network essentially from scratch, of course.
How do you get all the users?
How do you get all the users? You add enough value by if there's enough people, then there's enough votes, like things like that, that were kind of interesting. And we learned a ton. And I feel like that was truly our, we are first time founders, but that was our really first time even thinking about it. We're both product people. So we did a lot of focus on building out the app and a bit of the design. Like Brian learned how to code, I learned how to design, and that's how we built it.
All day long.
In Figma, we were like, he was coding and we were just on Zoom and we were just building it live kind of thing. And then we ended up, launching and working on that for around a year. We were able to, grow our user base decently.
You're still at Blackstone.
Still at Blackstone for a few months, just during a bit more of the ideation and some of the early design and early code of this platform. And then we had enough conviction in both the idea and ourselves as partners to leave in the spring of 2021. So I left Blackstone, I think in March or April of 2021.
Okay.
And then like a month later, we launched our MVP little beta for a month or so, then went live. And we learned so much. We definitely fell into certain fallacies of you build it and they will come, which is not true. Like you can't just build and not be like, okay, the users are going to magically show up. It doesn't happen.
That's the hardest part is getting
users. The distribution. You have to have an amazing experience. You have to have distribution. It's something that we're so focused on with our current rental marketplace, something that we did not know when we were building the polling app, and figured out some of it, worked on that for around a year to grow that a bit, and saw some things that were working and a lot of things that weren't working really well. One of the metrics that we paid a lot of attention to that wasn't as strong was retention. So people weren't coming back to the app consistently because clearly we weren't adding enough value there. But when we did a deep dive into understanding where people were actually finding the most value, we found people were recommending items from their own closets on the comments of these polls. So if you had posted a poll about what to wear and buy, you were recommending certain brands that you absolutely love, that fit you really well, that were high quality, whatever that was. Even a few polls or a few comments of people saying, hey, you don't have to go buy this, you could borrow it from me. Yeah. And so we then went from there and thought, this is interesting. This current app isn't working that well, but here are some insights. And it allowed us to then look at the rental space.
So this initial MVP, it was not called Pickle.
It was Pickle Poll.
It was called Pickle Poll. Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you guys have like a monetization vision or strategy on Pickle Poll, or you were just trying to get signals and figure out like what is working, where are people gravitating
roughly,
towards?
Yes. We were not making money. We didn't have any revenue.
It takes a long time.
But we... And that's what it was a big part of the pivot too. Obviously, our marketplace was directly focused on you were making money immediately. You were bringing in revenue just with your first transaction, at least. For this one, it was a bit more thinking about the data play, the way that we can monetize that, potentially looking at running ads within there. But, and that was something that was a bit more popular at the time in 2021 or so that could have done better. But then things were shifting pretty quickly as well once you're getting into 2022.
Yeah, everything the years of the pandemic, just the world changed.
It's so fast too. Yeah.
The way we shop, the way we think. Okay, so Pickle Poll.
Yes.
Then you start getting signals on maybe there's something here with rental.
Yes.
So then what happens?
Then we looked at the rental space, and it's not a brand new concept. There are players that have been working on this for years with very different business models that are a bit asset heavier.
I've tried a few of them.
Yes, I've tried them. I've tried them too. And pre-pandemic as well. And there are a lot of challenges with that business model. When you're owning and managing all of that inventory, not only are you predicting fashion trends 6 to 12 months in advance of them happening, and newsflash with the social media world, trends last for a couple of weeks and then things change really quickly. And that was a challenge that was hard on the supply side. And then there were other aspects that were harder on the consumer with like a subscription model and everything that people didn't have as much demand for. So we wanted to really focus on something that was asset light, have really dynamic supply, and then something that could be on demand. You're renting something exactly when you need it so that you can wear it for a very specific amount of time. That led us to think about the peer-to-peer model. We were looking at companies like Airbnb and Uber. If you can do it with your home and with your car, why wouldn't you be able to monetize the items in your closet? And that was essentially the thesis of the the next version of Pickle, the fashion rental marketplace that we are today.
So now where are you guys at in the process now? You have your original V1.
We shut that down in April of 2022, retooled the entire platform, went heads down and rebuilt things for a couple of weeks. I don't know, we were just on Zoom live designing and coding until 2 a.m. every night, and then went live with the very first version of the rental app in May of 2022. And it was MVP. You know, we were getting it out there where it was pretty limiting of what you could do. I think at the very first version we had was you would find something to rent and the only option was you could rent it for a week and you had to get it today. There were no, you know what I mean? But you have to get something in the market. It's definitely been a big learning that I talk about quite often. Especially when talking to other founders, everyone always wants things to be perfect.
Right.
But if you're waiting for it to be perfect, you're launching far too late. And fortunately, we made the decision to not wait until it was perfect, mostly because we needed to move quickly and we were running out of money so fast that we had to.
Did you raise money to do this initially?
We did. We raised a family and friends round for that very first version of Pickle. It was
around just to like support you guys.
It was around 200,000 or 250 maybe from family and friends, and we ended up stretching that out for 2.5 years. Not intentionally, you know, we were trying to raise more capital,
yes.
We got a million no's before we were able to finally raise our seed round of financing. That was in summer of 2023.
Okay. Okay, so now we're at the MVP of the
new version
of Pickle. You're still living in New York City.
Living in New York City, eating ramen because we're so broke.
Yeah.
But we had conviction in this new idea, and Brian and I have a lot of things in common. He also was a D1 athlete. He played football at Maryland. We definitely had very similar ideas of building a business and the work ethic that it would take for it. And so also potential like slight craziness and stubbornness. When we did the pivot, we're like, we have to give this a chance. We have a lot more conviction in this than our previous version, even if we're even more broke than we were before.
But I think I feel like it's very common that people who are college athletes end up to go on becoming entrepreneurs and founders. It's the level of endurance and discipline.
True, the discipline.
Is not something that is ingrained in a lot of people.
That's very true.
It's a very, very unique trait or skill set that someone acquires. Okay, so now you have launched Pickle 2.0.
Yes.
Where do these first 100 customers come from?
The first 100 customers. It was such a great moment when one of those first customers wasn't one of my friends. And I remember that first customer really well. But before then it was people. I would literally be just going to my friend's apartment. Well, first of all, let me take a step back. When building this type of marketplace, there's two sides, supply and demand. So you're thinking about all the items that need to get listed from other people's closets that you would then tell everyone, hey, go rent these on Pickle. It's very hard to tell people to rent things if there's nothing on the platform.
Right.
So very focused on supply. So the very first people on the platform were lenders. And those first closets were a combination of some of my girlfriends where I would literally go over to their apartment and pull things out and say, put this on, we're uploading it to your Pickle closet. Having no idea what would actually do well yet with renting, but just knowing we had to get some supply started. Outside of some of those friends, we also came up with, I had this idea that was kind of based on Airbnb's idea of the way that they changed their listing by helping complete the photos of homes because they were much higher quality. I thought there's one persona that would make a lot of sense to get on the platform right now, and those were the nano and micro influencers in New York City. They have an abundance of items in their closet. They also set trends. They're very stylish. They take all the photos in SoHo. It's great. And I thought, well, let's get these girls onto the platform. Obviously, we couldn't go out to the girls that have hundreds of thousands of followers. So these were the stylish nano influencers with a couple thousand followers. And we also didn't have any money to pay them. So we thought, what value could we potentially give them? They like to post content. Why don't we try to give them a free photo shoot? And I hired, and by hired, I mean worked with an FIT student photographer who wanted to build out her portfolio. And we told some of these girls after DMing probably 150 and getting like 6 responses to come meet on a corner in SoHo. I had like a bunch of green balloons so that they knew where we were, like literally a bunch of green balloons in my hand. And they showed up and they got professional photos, and that photographer was excellent, and they used them for their Instagram. They were able to talk to me and Brian live at the photo shoot, so they actually started to understand what pickle was, and then they used those photos for their first pickle listings as well. So that hack was interesting. We replicated that a few times, and then that little community is quite tight-knit. So that group of girls started talking about it with their friends of, hey, this is how I'm actually going to start making money on some of the pieces that I really love in my closet that I might not be ready to sell yet, but I'm going to monetize by sharing it with other people. And that had a bit of a flywheel effect that eventually we were able to have enough supply there that the demand started picking up as well.
Amazing. I love that. That's real grit, real
yes,
real entrepreneurship
it
part.
was.
So also, like, just to go a little further down this path, I have seen pictures of you. You know what I'm going to say.
They're probably sweaty pictures.
I have seen pictures of you doing dry cleaning in your apartment.
We've done cleaning in the apartments. We actually did try those like at-home dry cleaner bags. They don't work very well, so we did have to go to the dry cleaner. That was just an attempt of saving money instead of using dry cleaning. The reason that we were doing that was once we had a few macro influencers were interested in renting out their clothes, but their biggest worry was they didn't have enough time to manage it. And we were like, we really need the supply. So we just said, we'll just manage it for you. So we took a few of those closets. There's like three girls. And I lived with roommates at the time, and Brian lived alone. And so his apartment became the storage unit and the influencer closet. So poor Brian was living amongst hundreds of women's clothes all the time, which he really sacrificed for a long time. I seriously appreciate it because that was not fun, but it was a really great way to build supply again. And also we started to learn a lot about like the fulfillment of those orders, because we would then get the full experience and understanding end to end as both a lender, what that meant to go and care for items that are getting sent out to be rented, how they're getting returned, all of that process, as well as we even decided to do, not really decided, but more had to, did all of the deliveries at the beginning locally in New York City. We wanted there to be a courier option. We just couldn't afford the courier. That was us. Yeah. You've probably seen those.
I've seen those pictures too and read that online, like taking the subway that was like my first fashion internships back in the day. I worked for a PR company in SoHo.
And you were schlepping things everywhere?
I was the delivery service. So I understand the amount of work.
You have to start somewhere.
You have to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. But you made it happen. There's a will. There's a way.
Or there's a will in the little stubborn craziness. There's a way.
All right. So you are doing all the grit. You're doing all the work. You're doing whatever it takes. You're starting to see signals. You're starting to see what's working. You're hyper focused on New York City, which obviously makes a lot of sense. It's a small concentrated area. It's easy to get deliveries overnight. What do you think? Let's talk about pricing for a minute. So how do you advise people to set pricing? I imagine that took a little bit of testing.
It did. We learned a lot about pricing at the beginning, and our average order value on the platform has grown a ton. And that's because at the very beginning, the items that people were listing were lower quality because we didn't have that trust yet. We didn't have a whole network of people that were like, hey, this is a legit platform and there are legit people on here. So that increased a ton over the past couple of years. Now it's getting a bit more like stabilized, which is good because we don't want it to be too expensive. Otherwise it feels inaccessible. But for that high quality supply, when you're looking at a $400 dress, often that's getting priced for a week of 10, and we're looking at that as 10 to 20% of the retail value. So you might rent a $400 dress for the week, and maybe it's priced between $50 and $80, depending on how popular it is. If it's something that's trending right now, it might be priced closer to $80 because it's in such high demand. And the value is you're saving $320. You're wearing that dress to a wedding, your birthday party, your vacation, whatever it is, and you're getting that same value of being able to wear it, post your Instagram or whatever you're doing with it, and then you can return it, not add it to your closet.
Okay, so now let's talk about distribution. What do you think is one motion that really moved the needle in terms of distribution?
Two things that definitely moved the needle there. One of them was, I'll talk about influencers, and then I'll also talk about just some of the very unscalable ways that we like built our community at the very beginning. The influencer side, they were very helpful because they have followers.
Right.
And from the beginning, we were very much like, we have $0, so we cannot pay you to post about this, but this platform is going to make you money. So that's the value prop that we were pitching on. And at those early influencers, they had to believe in that because obviously they weren't making money yet until we started to pick up the traction and everything. But the distribution there started to work really well. And it's still a strategy that we use today where we work with influencers all the time. They are able to monetize their closets. And what is an even more exciting aspect of it is that they are connecting with their community around their pickle closet. So once people know that they have a closet on Pickle and they post that amazing outfit that they just wore to their trip or bachelorette party in Paris, whatever, their followers are commenting and saying, hey, can you please add this to your pickle closet? I would love to.
And you're seeing that.
You see it. You see the comments, and the girls will reach out and they'll say, oh my gosh, everyone's freaking out over this dress. We have to get it live ASAP, whatever that might be. And it's nice because yes, there's a monetization factor, but there's also this social element of the fact that other people are actively seeing that demand from their followers and then are able to put that item on Pickle, see the rentals, see the money coming into their account. And it's a nice little flywheel effect.
Right.
So that's kind of the influencer realm. And then for the other distribution aspect, because we are 85 to 90% organic growth. It's all word of mouth, people searching, finding us on Google, going to our website, whatever that might be. And that is something that you can't force to happen. You know, when people say, oh, we got to work on our organic growth and word of mouth, you're like, how do you actually do that? You know, and the way that I, in hindsight, think that we did it was because we did so many of these unscalable things while doing the first, delivering the first 1,500 orders to people's doors, or working so manually and directly with some of these influencers that were spreading word about the platform on their social sites and social platforms. We made sure that all of these very early customers were super happy and excited to talk about it. And so when I would show up to someone's door, they were very surprised to see me. I would immediately ask them about how they learned about Pickle, what they thought about the app, if they had any questions about it. We ended up building the product based on that exact feedback instead of pretending like we knew the customer better than just asking them at their doors, which then allowed us to truly create a magical rental experience. And that is what people are actually talking about. And that is the distribution that's happening because we started to see it. There would be, Clara in the East Village knew Hannah in Union Square. And we were like, oh, this is this little community network that's starting. This friend group is now adopting Pickle, and they're the ones that we're talking about. You could even see it so manually at the beginning. Obviously, that is not scalable to run around New York City all day and deliver every pickle item. But I think that extra special care for our early customers has paid off so much in dividends, and then ended up also resulting in people getting really excited to talk about their experience of Pickle on socials. And a few of those videos started going viral, not from our account, from other people's accounts, just talking about it. And that also helped step change our growth. And that was in the spring of 2023 when we were so close to being very out of money. We technically ran out of money, I think 3 times, but we always found a way. That's another story, I guess. But off that traction, we were finally able to raise our seed round and we're able to bring on $8 million. So we went from $0 to $8 million in the summer, fall of 2023.
So you effectively bootstrapped for 2 years.
2.5 years. We spread out that family and friends round, which, $200,000
does not go very far.
Doesn't go very far
at all.
No,
not at all. So I think I really want to touch on an important point I think that you bring up with, on the topic of distribution. And I think it really is community. And obviously the way we connected is through community. I have my Brickle Babes community I built totally accidentally here in Miami when I moved, just looking to make friends and get local business recommendations. But similarly to you, I put a lot of time and energy just nurturing in those first groups of people because I selfishly needed friends.
Community,
I needed community. And I think there is such a strong need and there's such a strong pull on community right now, really coming out of the pandemic. And of course, influencer and influencer marketing is so important. It will continue to be, but it's I think now community is almost the new influencer, and it sounds like you're seeing that.
We're totally leaning into that.
There's a community within Pickle that the girls are creating their own friendships, their own.
That's my favorite part when I hear of, I met one of my good friends I actually met through a pickle rental. Whoa, I love that.
She found a job through Pickle. She found her boyfriend through her pickle rental, the stories, and it's shocking, but it like makes it so rewarding, and you see your impact in such a larger scale than just solving a small business problem, and then it creates this hyper growth effect that you can't manufacture it in any capacity.
It's very hard to manufacture it. It's something where right now we're seeing the community existing here, and then when we're thinking about how do we help expand it or accelerate it a bit, we do try to go find pockets of other communities, like yours, for example, or sororities. Those are really good examples of micro communities that are very tight knit with people that have commonalities or are, friendly with each other, whatever that might be. And the reason we have a focus on that too is we want to try to meet our customers where they are.
Yes.
So your community is full of a ton of ambitious women that are excited to look good and feel good, wear some really cool outfits, and potentially monetize items in their closet. They're perfect for Pickle. And so working with you makes a ton of sense. And then we think about where else can we find these women? And it might be the local Pilates class. We love working with Fuse House. They're amazing. They always have some awesome people that are like, you guys are Pickle customers in here. And that's been a great strategy for us. And then we like to give back by hosting our own events. We're having a holiday party next week, which is very exciting. And it sold out immediately. We did like a $10 ticket kind of thing, but people are very excited to go. We like to invest. We did a fashion show for our 3 years to celebrate and bring everyone together. And even though we are not an event company, that's a good investment that is paying dividends in our community growth.
People love in-person events.
Definitely.
Love in-person events. Okay, so your COO cadence. So let's talk about what is your role as COO of Pickle?
I wear a lot of different hats. Sometimes I feel like my only job is just solving problems all day. I think that's founder equivalent, like for anybody that's starting a company, whatever position you're holding. What I'm covering is everything that spreads the gamut of go-to-market, growth, marketing, community. I cover our retail vertical. We have a store in the West Village. And then where that all really ties together is into the overall customer experience. Because within those functions, I am constantly talking with our community, hearing direct feedback from our customers, from our lenders, and able to then translate that, whether it's into an operations process or, project there, or something that's in the product and it's specifically a feature.
What would you say is your weekly ritual or metric that anchors you and your team?
We, every single Monday, have a weekly growth markets meeting. Okay. And it is a full deep dive analysis on everything that happened the week prior. We look at everything across new users acquired, repeat users and activity on the platform, supply acquisition, transaction growth, GOV, revenue, everything there. And then we look at it per market as well. And we're paying a lot of attention to that because we started in New York, we started expanding to other cities because we did offer that shipping method. Mm-hmm. So we started to see people shipping items outside of New York City, which is how we then went to LA, because someone was shipping from New York to LA. They're like, I could open a closet. All of a sudden there was a cluster of closets in LA. People started doing local rentals there. Same thing happened in Miami. And that has been a big part of our growth and focus, especially with this next year, geographic expansion. So we do a full breakdown of those metrics across these different geographies, and then even pay attention to, okay, what's happening in Chicago, which is growing right now, or Dallas or Austin, and how can we also help fuel those communities even if we're not fully focused on them quite yet.
Mm-hmm. So you go from New York to LA. Mm-hmm. Miami's obviously another big one.
Yeah,
what are your next set of cities that you guys are eyeing right now?
Yes, we've done a little bit in Dallas. We haven't done a full thing there, but we launched this fall a growth fellowship program, which is kind of like an elevated ambassador program. Mm-hmm. And the idea was we need local experts in these communities that are going to know where the pickle girls are, right? So I didn't know anything about Dallas, and I know stuff now because we had fellows there and I went and visited our customers and things like that. But I'm not gonna act like I'm the expert of all of these different communities and cities across the country.
Yeah.
So to scale that, these ambassadors, they're the experts. They're the ones that are going to get some hands-on experience of operating and growing a community, which is pretty cool. And we're able to compensate them monthly, and they're incentivized with some additional milestones based on referrals and things like that, which is great. So that program's been awesome. But some of the cities that we're very excited about right now that are organically growing quickly include Dallas, Austin, Chicago is definitely one of those. And even places like San Francisco or Boston and DC, Philly.
Amazing. Let's touch on trust and safety for a minute. So obviously, like, somebody's coming, they're going to put their, like, I just think about it from my perspective. I'm going to put my closet on the platform.
Right.
How, and this is not a knock against you guys at all, but I had an experience with a pre-pandemic rental company. I put this like beautiful Dolce & Gabbana dress I'd worn once. I paid full price for it. Unfortunately, it gets lost.
Yeah.
I never see it again. Not a great experience. Of course it happens. What are, like, talk to me about like quality control, disputes, trust and safety. Like, I'm sure it's an evolving topic and evolving.
Always.
There's a lot there, but
I mean, there's always ways that we're thinking about how continuously improving it. It's something that we, when we were first getting started, we were even figuring out what's the best way to put in protocols and protection policies and everything. And the first thing that we establish is our pickle protection policy that guarantees you're protected on both sides as a renter and a lender. If you're a renter, you're guaranteed to get your item clean, ready to wear, and as described on the platform. So if it shows up size medium and you ordered a size small, you're going to be able to get a full refund. Again, not a great experience, but you are protected in that sense, especially financially. On the lender side, the same thing, you're fully protected for your item. We are in a peer-to-peer model, so there are other humans here. There's no guarantee that everything is going to go perfectly. While it is rare and not common for poor things to happen on the platform, humans make mistakes. Things happen during transit. There's this kind of thing. So we're always figuring out additional ways that we can help improve that process and that protection. First thing that we rolled out was reviews, and that's similar to Airbnb and Uber. If you rent out your house and someone trashes it, that person will never be able to rent again, or they might get suspended from the platform. So that helps hold people accountable in that peer-to-peer model, which is great. When you are a lender as well, when you receive a rental request, it doesn't just go through automatically. You have to actively choose if you're accepting it, countering the offer, or declining it. And so you have the opportunity to go look at that person's page, their reviews. You could even message them in advance, ask questions, let them know, hey, this is my Dolce & Gabbana dress. It's one of my favorite dresses. What are you wearing it to? Whatever. You can ask them whatever you want. And that community aspect too does help increase that trust and helps people hold themselves a bit more accountable. Other technologies and things that we're rolling out, we just rolled this out a bit more recently, was a condition reporting functionality. Okay. So you can document the condition of the item before you send it out, as soon as you receive it, as soon as you get it back, all throughout the rental process. And that allows there to be less people saying, oh, this is how it arrived, or this is how it was sent back, whatever. And it's a live photo that you're taking on your phone. You can't pull it from your photo album. You have to literally take the picture.
Almost like Turo does that.
Exactly.
I just rented a Turo a couple weeks ago, and it had been a few years since I did one. The amount of photos I had to take before and after, it was like a little annoying, but at the end of the day, I appreciate it because it alleviates so many potential future problems.
Totally. And it's something that we're still learning about right now. It's optional, but it's something that we're figuring out where are places that we would fully make it required. But also as a lender, you should feel very incentivized to take that photo so you can say, here's the exact condition, I sent it out. And if something is treated beyond normal wear and tear, which is, it's going to get worn by a human, it needs regular cleaning afterwards, then that's something that our support team is able to step in, handle that case, and make sure that you're compensated accordingly.
Amazing. Sounds like you guys definitely have put a lot of thought into this.
Thinking about it because it's important, and it's something that can be a big difference in having an amazing experience or something that's poor. And it is not easy when you're not in full control of the entire process. But it's also, someone said this, a founder said this the other day about one of their differentiating aspects of their business, that is their biggest strength and biggest weakness at the exact same time. And I would say that that's also true with the peer-to-peer model.
Yeah. I mean, peer-to-peer is not for the faint of heart.
No.
There's a lot of customer service involved, a lot of, it's a lot. All right, let's move on to we're going to touch on wellness for a second. So you're obviously doing a lot. You've obviously been bootstrapping the company for a long time. You raised your $8 million seed round. You just closed this
Series A
this spring.
Yep. In March.
Yes. What are you doing to like, how do you take care of yourself? How do you like, what's your self-care routine?
You know,
and don't tell me there isn't anything.
There's not nothing, but do you have any tips? I will transparently say it is so hard, and it's easy for that to feel like the last priority, but it is becoming increasingly important, especially as I've picked up on having to travel even more for work. And all of a sudden you're throwing that factor into already maybe working a lot and not sleeping as much. And so things that I like to prioritize that help me, I am no expert and I still need to improve on it, are making sure that I prioritize moving my body. I think that was something that was obviously very important being a college athlete. And it's something that not only makes me just feel better, but it helps my brain work better too. So that's something I try to prioritize, some form of movement every day. It might not be like the craziest workout, but at least doing some form of a walk is good. I'm trying to get better at certain like routines that I would have more consistently. It's hard because the schedule is so dynamic and every day is different. But if I can at least get a little movement, then there's one constant every day. Yeah,
I agree.
Any tips? Do you have anything?
I mean, I think it's just incorporating, like I used to be so hard on myself about doing, X, Y, and Z workout classes and hitting all the categories every week, the HIIT, the Pilates, the spin, all of it. And now I think just being able to move your body, even the tiniest bit, if it's a 10-minute walk, because that's all you have time to do. If it's stretching, like a lot of times the busier I find myself, sometimes it's just like, hey, like I'm going to sit on the floor in between meetings or recordings or whatever it is and stretch. And actually stretching can make a world of a difference if you're traveling a lot, sitting in uncomfortable airplane seats or trains or any of it. So I think, and then for me, the other two are water. I try to drink a certain amount of water every day. It doesn't always happen.
I always need to be drinking more water. My boyfriend yells at me.
Green. I'm like a little crazy person, but I try to have something green every single day, whether it's a green juice, a vegetable. It doesn't matter what it is. It's got to be like, I'm just like something green. I know if I eat something green that day, like I've done something for myself.
Yeah, I like that.
And it's pretty easy.
That's a fun one too.
It's easy to do it. You can turn it into a game. Like, where's the green thing I can find?
It's like a little challenge. Like, okay, cool. And like that works for my brain.
It's a game. If you gamify it. All right, let's do closet to cash. So 3 steps a listener can do this week. Say they just learned about Pickle from this episode. Where do they go? What do they do? How do they sign up?
To sign up, we have 2 options, which is new. We now have our website that you can create an account on, which is great. And then you can also download our app. It's free in the App Store. When you create an account, you will have a really easy option of being able to start uploading items to your closet. You'll connect your bank account so that you're paid. We use Stripe. They're amazing for the payment processing and everything. You'll add in your address in case you would like to use convenient delivery methods. And then you'll just get started by uploading a few photos. Often people are pulling that from their Instagram. And then we use autofill with AI technology so that when you use that, it fills out everything in your listing aside from like a few fields. So it takes less than a minute to be able to list your first item. And then
less than a minute.
Once you get into those photos, you click that autofill with AI and it's all filled out. All you're going to add in is the retail price and the brand. Amazing. And then go from there. Because it's going to give you a nice little description. You can edit it, of course. But No, I click that button all the time.
Yeah, that makes it so easy.
It's very easy. So, and then you just unleash your closet. Ideally, when you're getting started, having a few items, like 5 to 10 to start would be great. Then we see when girls start to get their first rentals, they unleash their closets, right? They just start to think about all of these different wedding guest dresses that they've worn before. Or at some point, people start to even think about what's the return I could make on this dress that I'm investing in? And they're thinking about that when they're deciding to go and purchase something new as well.
So you guys had 85% growth last year.
85% organic growth.
Organic growth last year. That we think you're attributing that to the community growth method, the micro influencers, college campuses, events. That's incredible. I think, just going back to our earlier point, the community really is the new influencer.
Totally.
you see it.
It's so important, and it's helpful because you never want to pay for customers if you can avoid it, right? If you can get them from their friends and through word of mouth, they're most likely going to convert faster because they're coming in through a channel that has higher trust. They're likely going to repeat as well because they're surrounded by other people that are using the platform. And that's been helpful. And we're continuing to lean into that by investing in the community.
So another one of my favorite fun facts is 1 in 4 women ages 18 to 35 in New York City has downloaded Pickle. That is insane to me. I lived in New York City for 11 years. Insane. 1 in 4 people.
Yes, there are a lot of women using it right now. It's great. It's very exciting. It's fun when you're out and the odds of someone having known about Pickle are high.
That's very high.
Great. Yeah.
That's very, very, very high. And then tell me, what's the average amount your top lenders are making on the platform each month?
Top lenders are making a couple $1,000s a month. There are girls that love to tell us that they use all of their Pickle earnings like for paying for their rent or
paying for their rent
in New York City.
Holy cow.
I love that one when they're like, okay, we won't share exactly how much, but I'd love to tell you that I do pay for my rent with my Pickle earnings. That's great.
All right, if that is not a sign for everybody listening to download
it's time
Pickle right now.
Open your closet.
Open your closet and pay your rent.
Yes.
Holy cow.
Yes. It's nice. And then you can, think about that extra money. What do you do with it? I mean, I've had people that come up to me and they say, and it's really heartwarming when they say, your platform has changed my life because when I am making an extra, and this person in particular told me, I made an extra 10K. Last month. She had a very, very good month. And she said, I have never been able to go explore other hobbies or things, but because of this additional income I'm bringing in, it's opened up all these new doors for me. And that is one of the coolest parts of building
That's
this platform.
Absolutely incredible. That's incredible. Wow. All right, we're going to do a lightning round. I know we answered a couple of these already, but we're going to do lightning round. All right. Ship by Friday or perfect V1?
Ship by Friday. Yeah.
Creator seeding or paid ads?
Creator seeding.
Fewer high quality lenders or massive long tail?
Fewer high quality lenders. Actually, that kind of changed my mind. I don't know. No, massive long tail because some of the way that I would define that is for the quality lenders that they might have a ton of items in their closet, but for people that even just add 5 to 10 items and are only getting maybe 1 or 2 rentals a month versus some people that are getting like 50, they are still very satisfied lenders because it's extra money that's in your pocket that you would otherwise not have. So
and you're not selling your clothes.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Raise take rate or increase turns?
Increase turns.
Manage protection or pure peer-to-peer?
If I'm picking just one, it's peer-to-peer.
Okay. And I already know the answer to this one, but we're going to ask anyway. City by city or nationwide growth day one?
City by city.
City by
just
city.
like Uber.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Let us know where everyone can find you, where they can find Pickle.
Yes. If you want to connect with me personally, I have LinkedIn. I also have Instagram, Julia_O'Mara. But more importantly, you should follow Pickle at Shop on Pickle. And then you can check out the app on the App Store or our website, which is shoponpickle.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was so fun.
So fun.
That's a wrap on this episode of Stacked. If this one added value, share it with someone who's ready to level up their financial life. Subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, leave a rating and review. It helps us keep the show going and reach more people who are serious about becoming their own best asset. You can subscribe to our newsletter at www.stackedassets.co for weekly intel on Bitcoin markets, business, and living well. Follow along on socials at Stacked Assets or my personal at Emily Dempsey for more on Bitcoin business and building the life you actually want. I'll see you next week. Stay stacked.